Hey everyone, welcome back to the Advocacy Connection channel via YouTube. As promised, we're here today to do an interview with Clark Spickerman, who's been my mentor and guide through this self-advocacy journey. How are we doing today, Clark?
Doing well.
Glad to
Glad to be here.
glad to have you on the stream finally. And so we're gonna talk about a little bit about the backstory, how I got into advocacy, self-advocacy, and all that. So yeah, Clark, we pretty much go back a little ways.
I'd say probably 6 years or so, perhaps. I think we were just talking, trying to figure out because I couldn't remember when I first met you. However, you certainly left an impression right away, and you helped us out with our self-advocacy training for our new staff, and certainly you have a good use of language, and I think you leave a good impression with people new to the field of supporting people with developmental disabilities.
All right, thank you, Clark. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And so before we get into the present day, rewind a little bit back to the very beginning. Clark, back 2016, Clark approached me one day in Alpha's computer lab and asked me straightforward, what do I know about advocacy or self-advocacy? And I said, not a whole lot. I was skeptical about what it was. Hence, I really had no knowledge of it. So Clark invited me to sit in on a training class specifically, and get to see what it's about, get a feel for it. And as the years went on, the little projects for you and stuff like that you gave me. And I did extensive research on advocacy, self-advocacy, and stuff like that. And you have anything else you want to add, Clark?
Well, no, I'm glad you reminded me of that as well. I did have you look up things because you are a researcher. I know someone else who had told me about you and spoke to me about you said you give you a task and you're really on it. I remember you did. You wrote, we did something about civil rights possibly, if I remember correctly, and your story and so on. And this conversation that we're having about advocacy is very much a civil rights issue.
Absolutely.
It's getting people to hear your voice, and people who are supposed to be helping you, making sure that they help you in ways that are meaningful to you.
Right.
And when I say you, not just you, Joe, but other people receiving services. We're all different, and we have different expectations. So it is very much a civil rights issue, and I think that's where the conversation started, and I think that's where maybe you started to develop the passion that you have for this topic.
Exactly, and I did, as the years went on, I became more and more passionate about it. Started, to the point where I started developing a group, and which holds meetings about every Friday night, and doing this channel here, educating other individuals who don't really know about self-advocacy, the depth of it, and what it really means to an individual like myself and my peers. And who also will be better to educate than Clark here, who pretty much taught me everything I know about self-advocacy, and that got me to this point. Which, Clark, again, I'm, forever grateful for that. And, now it's basically, my turn to pass the torch to future advocates to learn about it and start practicing self-advocacy around the home, program, work, school, wherever the case. And yeah, fast forward present day, here I am. Thanks to this man here.
Well, that's very kind. But I think maybe to go along with what you're talking about is, once again, it is a civil rights issue, and it's how you self-advocate for yourself. First of all, you got to really know kind of what you want.
Right.
And there's a real range. Many people with disabilities really don't know what's available to them or what's reasonable to expect out of life. So sometimes educating that is what's out there. What do you want out of life? What do you expect from the organizations that provide your supports? And then how do you, kind of push those organizations if they're kind of slow, or if they're, maybe not thinking totally about, what can we do to help this person take the rightful place in society, or the rightful place in their neighborhood or community, or even in the programs where they get services. So, that it's an important thing to talk about and to teach. You've done a good job with it, and I like what you're doing, sharing that with other people who are logging onto your channel.
Thank you, Clark. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. And before we close out, a quick Q&A. So my first question is, you pretty much answered it, I think, but I'll just reiterate the question. What kind of advice or tools would you give the newer generation of advocates or self-advocates?
Okay, well, yeah, you're right. I did kind of mention it, but it's worth mentioning again. Is first of all, what do you want? What do you want out of life? What do you want out of the organizations or the people that support you? And then, how do you use the system? You always want to play by the rules. You always want to use the structure that exists. Right. For instance, many people who are viewing this maybe have a life plan, and every 6 months the life plan is reviewed. And before the life plan, an individual, it's their life plan, they really kind of have an idea. What do you want to talk about? Are you happy with your services? And if you're not happy with your services, how can you communicate that you want something different or better? And then if those services, aren't meeting your expectations, the organization is maybe giving you a reason, have them explain it clearly to you so you understand, why can't we do this now? Because sometimes the answer is later to the things we want in life. But it's your plan. Your life plan meeting, if you have one, that's your opportunity really to start the advocacy process.
Exactly, absolutely, yeah. You hit the nail right on the head, Clark.
Thanks.
And like Clark said, with these life plan meetings, it is about you, it's person-centered, as as the term is. And with these life plan meetings, it's your meeting. You decide what happens at that meeting, what happens with in future meetings, what you want to happen, what new goals you want, if any, where you decide where you want to live, who you want to live with, and things like that. And that's how I pretty much learned about advocacy as a whole. Not so much self-advocacy, but advocacy in its deepest meaning. And that's what I plan on teaching the new generation advocates, with Clark's assistance, of course. And that's pretty much the message that I'm trying to convey.
Yeah.
We're trying to convey.
Yeah, and there is a statewide organization for self-advocacy. SANYS, I believe, is SANYS, Self-Advocacy of New York State. And they have resources as well. They have conferences, and that's their mission, is to help people with disabilities to also advocate for their rightful place, again, in their communities, neighborhoods, and so on. So they have resources, they have conferences. But again, it's really important to always start with the system that exists, the people that can help you, and that if you disagree, you do it in a manner that's collaborative. Because, if you kind of make enemies, or there's a lot of confrontation between you and the people that support you, sometimes people just kind of stop. And we don't want that to happen. You want to keep that going. But sometimes it is okay to ask the people providing services, if they're not providing something you want, to tell you why. And then sometimes maybe you do have to look in other directions, look for someone else to provide those supports, another organization perhaps. Or in the case of Joe here, he certainly could have waited and gotten a job coach and supported employment. Instead, he just did what any person would do, and he went to Cumberland Farms and filled out an application and got a job. And you've been working there for a couple of years now, haven't you?
A little over a year, yeah.
Over a year, okay. So, you can hold the organization or the people that support you accountable, but you need to be accountable to yourself as well. And sometimes it is ultimately, at the end of the day, it's your life, and you're the person that's got to access to help, but also help yourself.
Exactly. Very good point, Clark. Thank you. And before we wrap up here, you have anything, any other final things you want to add?
Uh, no, I think we covered everything. I think certainly keep the conversation going. Talk with Joe. Talk with if you're getting services from an organization, talk to your care manager, your program coordinators, and really go into that life plan meeting with an agenda that you have. Don't come into the meeting and say, "Oh, here's your meeting today," and then what do you want to talk about and not know. That's your chance. Twice a year, at least twice a year, you have the opportunity to tell your team what you want, what you want to work on. And don't forget, when we say what you want to work on, you actually have to work on it as well. You have to take some ownership.
Right, so this way it really doesn't seem one-sided. Because once you say you're going to do something, you have to commit to doing that thing. If it's a goal that you want to move, you want to get a new job, get whatever you want to put your mind to, you have to make that happen. You have to make that goal happen. It starts with you. And if you're not sure how to do it, advocate. That will definitely get you in the right direction to get help on whatever goal it is you want to get accomplished. And yeah, that's all the time we have for today. Clark, thank you so much for being with me on the stream. It was a pleasure having you. And like always, this is Joe. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, share it. And this is the Advocacy Connection channel. Stay tuned for next week's stream. Have a great day, guys.